Hey y'all, Brandon Rinas here. Hope you're doing absolutely amazing. So today, the progressives had this huge victory. Obama stopped the North Dakota Access pipeline temporarily, I guess you could say, but he stopped it. They have some Corps of Engineer land that it was going on, and he stopped the permitting for it. He would not allow it to continue for a little bit. So this is supposed to be a huge progressive win. And I want to kind of go over all the details of this. But before I go into the details, I'm going to give myself, I don't normally talk about me very much, but I'm going to do this a little bit. I spent 5 years in North Dakota. I worked in the oil field for 5 years. My family all lives in North Dakota. I shouldn't say all, but my parents, my brothers and sisters, a huge percentage of them, they all live out there. I have good friends and close friends that either work in the oil field or still live out there. I mean, I have a lot of inside knowledge. And I think what it comes down to, when we hear about these different things on the news or TV or your news feed, now I don't own a TV, so my source of news is my Facebook, my YouTube, and different things like this, what I see on there. My experience is that if you are hearing a bunch of positivity or a bunch of negativity all from the same groups, usually, at least from my experience, it's just go the opposite direction. I mean, the media all said that Hillary Clinton was going to dominate Donald Trump. It was going to be a blowout. Well, we know how that worked. The vast majority of major media was all saying how we needed to go to war with Iraq and how they were going to be able to nuke us and how dangerous it was. And the more we think about it later on, like I was someone that actually supported the Iraq war, but you look back at it and you go, they couldn't have hit us with a nuke if they had a nuke. They didn't have one, but even if they did, they had zero way of getting it to the United States. So it's just like, it's things like that. It's kind of weird how they all bunch up on different topics. Another one would be this North Dakota Access pipeline, or you could look at the 2008 recession and how they all grouped up and we really gotta let everybody know that the 2008 recession isn't happening. In 2008, they were still bragging about how great the economy is. I mean, it's absurd. So here we go. We got the North Dakota Access pipeline. And the story is that we have some private company that's going through and just ramrodding a pipeline down people's throats. Whatever they do, they're having absolutely no regard for private property, no regard for Indian reservations, going right through burial grounds. And if they don't get their way, they'll shoot people with rubber bullets, they'll blow them out of the way, they'll ram people, they'll spray them with icy cold water in the winter, and that is how these guys are putting the pipeline in. And this is the story we're getting on the news, or at least this is what I'm seeing. I mean, my news feed is blowing up with this type of stuff. And it seems to me that Facebook is actually blocking / controlling some of the positive news stories about this article, because I was trying to post a few and they would not allow my videos to get through. And this was not even of myself, this was of other sources, and accurate sources. It wasn't like I was taking it from InfoWars or something like that. So now let's get into the details. So we have, first of all, we have an old pipeline that currently goes across where they're protesting. So these guys are protesting the new one that's going to make things safer and make things more efficient, less likely to leak into the river or anything else, but they're protesting that in the name of protecting water. Slightly confusing. Now this new pipe that they're running through, now first of all, the old one is not leaking, but if you don't want it to leak, you might want to put in a newer one, a nicer one, a better one, a more efficient one. This new one that they're putting through, let's say it can handle 1,000 pounds of pressure. Well, at absolute max, they're running 1/3 of the pressure that the pipe can handle. Then, if it did blow through the first layer of pipe and it blew out, it still has a second layer of pipe that stops it with automatic shutoff valves on both sides of the river, so that way they're not polluting the river. You see, as time progresses and people still want to do stuff like this, they're constantly trying to improve their technology, they're constantly trying to improve things, so that way they can continue to do things without getting sued or losing millions of dollars trying to clean up messes, things of this kind. It's not really a free market considering how much government involvement is going on, but there's still a marketplace where there are businesses competing to get those contracts, so they want to have nicer and better technology. So now we have this water cannon issue. Oh my gosh, the police and the company, they're spraying people down with water cannons on all this. Okay, so that's one side of the story. Ooh, super scary. And from what I understand, it actually might be going on a little bit at the very tail end of things. But let's actually talk about the original water cannon stories and how things got to this stage. So we have protesters. In the name of protecting the environment, they flip vehicles over on a bridge. Okay, oil, gas leaking out of these things makes perfect sense on top of a bridge into the water. Yeah, then they pile up piles of tires. Okay, great. They light it all on fire, polluting the air and the water in the name of protecting the environment. Great. The fire department gets called, ironically, to put out a fire, which would be the way you would actually start protecting the environment. But the protesters block the road, so the fire department can't get there. Well, those protesters get warned multiple times, and they stay. So then they get sprayed with water. But all you hear on the news is these people got sprayed with water in sub-freezing conditions. How horrible. Really, guys? I mean, it's embarrassing. So anyway, I just want you to know that the people that were spraying them with water in that situation, they were being far nicer about it than I would have been. I would have been like, get out of the way or you're getting ran over. Actually, this is probably a lie because I'm a nice guy. But man, it would be hard not to. Another story we hear is that we have all this fracking going on, and this fracking destroys the water. You can't drink the water. You can look up YouTube videos. I'm not making this stuff up. They'll have cats walking like they're drunk, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I have this cat, and it's so sweet, and now that they've been fracking the water, it looks like it's demented. Its mind is gone. It has nothing to do. It can't find anything to eat. It's so horrible. Look at my little cat. It's just tipping over. It's really bad. So this is what we get to hear, and we look at YouTube, and we're like, oh my gosh, fracking is horrible. Oh. Well, it's funny, I still go to Williston. Now, Williston, I don't know if you know anything about fracking, but fracking, you go down the ground, usually about 2 miles down, which is 10 to 12,000 feet, which is just a little bit below the water table. The water table is usually right around 1,200 at the very deepest, so we're still 2 miles below that. And then you go sideways for about 2 miles, and then you blow out fracking, which is, it literally breaks up all the shale, and that's how you get the oil to come down your pipe, so that way you have lots of oil to pump. So anyway, this fracking is supposed to destroy the water. And don't get me wrong, there are situations where things go wrong and you do ruin sections of water. Oh, and don't forget, all the fish are dead in all the rivers are horribly polluted. You can't even see the ground. It's horrible. Anyway, that's the story, of course. So I drink water out of the tap. My family drinks water out of the tap. And I admit, I am a little bit weird, a little bit loopy, but I was that way before I moved to North Dakota. My family's all turned out pretty normal. I mean, I am weird, but the rest of them turned out normal, so we can't blame the water. Anyway, that's the story. No, there are not cats and animals walking around like they're flipping drunk. The lady probably gave her cat a bunch of Jack Daniels. Who knows? It's absurd. So anyway, when I hear all these arguments, it's like, oh, that sounds really good as long as we don't have a perspective on it. But then we go there, we actually live there, we've been there, we spent our lives there, and we go, huh, it's really a different perspective. Yes, there are gases. Yes, things can catch on fire. Yes, things go wrong. But that happens with anything. Golly. Anyway, we're going to keep going because there's a lot of things to go over. We also have progressives that are super happy about how they've stopped this whole thing, this whole pipeline. Yes! But I'm trying to figure out what they're happy about. So progressives want big government. They want heavy control. They want tons of rules and regulations. They want tons of issues and headaches and stuff and paperwork and red tape that you have to go through in order to do a pipeline or anything to run a company. So this company just did that. They went through all the loopholes, all the red tape, all the headaches. They went through over 900 different meetings, going through all the different towns, interviewing people, hey, is this pipeline going to be in your way? Are we going through anything valuable? And they rerouted this thing, I think it was 600 different times, trying to find the way that would be the least effective on anybody, like not interrupting their country, their state, their little town, their house, their property, whatever. 600 times they rerouted this thing, 900 different meetings, visiting people, and I could be off of my numbers by a little bit. I've heard this. I'm just going off the top of my head, but I know my numbers are in the ballpark. So if it's off by 20 people or 20 visits, whatever, you get my point. So they do all of that. They then go through all the permitting process. They get all of that done. They start building this thing. They have 3/4 of it done. They spend millions and millions and millions of dollars building a pipeline that will save money for the poor, save money for the middle class, create less pollution. And the results turn out to be, oh, we're still going to stop them after they go through all the loopholes. So what are progressives happy about? They got them to go through all the loopholes, they did all the loopholes, and now they're still happy that they stopped them? On what grounds? It's on Native American land. That's on the news. Okay, well, let me just end it real quick. It's not. Okay? There you go. It's not on Native American land. In fact, in order to protest the pipeline, a lot of these protesters have to trespass onto private property or onto government property or the Army Corps of Engineers property in order to protest. where they then complain that violence is thrown toward them when they're actually trespassing. Welcome to America. We have veterans that are going over there, and vets are going to be going over there, and they're probably going to be protesting this pipeline. And we have people like TYT, the Young Turks, that are proudly saying, "Oh man, we got all these veterans. We got over 2,000 veterans. They're going to go over there, and hopefully they're going to hold the police accountable. Hopefully they're going to, really help our movement." Okay, I don't know all veterans, but my experience with most veterans is they're pretty smart guys. They're not the most. When they actually get behind something, they're usually pretty educated. My guess is that when the veterans show up there, they're going to go, "What the heck are they protesting? This company's done everything right. You guys are trespassing. You're burning vehicles. You're destroying property. You're killing bison in the name of protecting the environment. You've got millions and millions of dollars of damage you're done. And then you're complaining that these guys are being aggressive towards you? How absurd." And I don't think that the veterans are actually going to side, in general, with the protesters. I think they're going to go, "Why would I stand up for you guys? You guys you're against everything I stand for. You're against private property. You're against private companies being able to do what they want when they go through the legal process." We have cops shooting rubber bullets. The rubber bullets, so supposedly recently it's gotten worse. I don't know the details on the last 3 days, but I do know that throughout the last weeks, if not months, we have protesters throwing, I don't even know what they're called, the Molotov cocktails, the ones that burn and catch on fire and all that stuff. We have those protesters throwing them at the cops. Okay? We have protesters burning and killing bison. We have protesters destroying private property to the tune of millions of dollars, busting out windows, destroying vehicles. And now they're complaining that they're getting shot with rubber bullets and that the people are all innocent. Okay, I don't know, maybe there are situations where some innocent person didn't do anything, they didn't induce the cop, and the cop shot him. I don't know, that might have happened once or twice. But I'm sorry, when this is your record, when I'm looking at this list of things that you're claiming and then reality, you're claiming and then reality over and over and over and over. And you're trying to tell me that the cops are all these bad guys shooting everybody innocently? I kind of missed the memo. In my head, I go, yeah, you kind of lost your credibility when you said it was on Indian land and then it wasn't. When you said that you're getting sprayed with water and you didn't even put it in context of you set yourself up to get sprayed with water, like you didn't move when they told you to move. You lit the fire that the fire department had to show up to put out. And then finally, on all the points of pros and cons, what's the goal of this? So progressives typically are trying to protect the environment. Now, if you have a pipeline in the ground running, I would say gallons, but they measure it by barrels, just thousands upon thousands. I believe it's 3,000 barrels either an hour, or 300,000 barrels either an hour or a day. Let's just say it's a day. That's an absurd amount. I believe that's right around, let's say, I don't know these numbers off the top of my head, but let's just go 10,000, I believe it was actually 30,000 rail cars would be used if it wasn't for this pipeline. So that's a lot of pollution in the air if you're hauling rail cars. And then when you have rail cars, that means you have to have a lot more trucks on the road, which means that there's people dying on the roads because we have more trucks, which means more traffic, which means more pollution in the air because people are getting places slower. And don't worry, trucks driving in icing conditions like North Dakota has 6 months out of the year, that's no big deal either. Don't worry about those fatalities. Don't worry about how dangerous that is. Don't worry about the pollution that that's causing. Don't worry about the poor and the middle class who now have to pay more when they buy gas, pay more when they pay for energy to heat their house. We won't worry about those people. The poor and the middle class, we don't care about them. We don't care about the environment as long as it's vehicles killing other people, vehicles polluting the air, more vehicles polluting the air. Like, this is the absurdity of this whole thing. Yes, pipelines can leak. Yes, things go south. Thankfully, we're getting higher and higher technology so that way we can protect it. But the reality is that this is the most environmentally friendly thing we can do with oil that we know of right now. And they're protesting it so that way we do things more environmentally destructive, things that hurt the poor and the middle class. It really confuses me. I really don't know why they're protesting. And I say this sincerely. If you have an answer for me and you can tell me, oh yeah, this is why we're protesting, please do. Tell me why. Because as far as I can tell, you're hurting the environment, you're hurting the poor, you're hurting the middle class. Temporarily, too. I mean, it's almost guaranteed that Donald Trump's going to let this thing go through. So are you just trying to become popular? Are you just trying to destroy private property to prove how tolerant the left is? I mean, come on. Now, finally, I want to end my videos with cures. Like, I feel like one of the issues that I've had when I do videos is that I always do negative, or I shouldn't say negative things, but I always say what's going on, which oftentimes is negative, and I don't post ideas on how to solve things. And these are just my opinions, but this is what I would do. So first of all, when it comes to these pipelines and all these different things, I don't believe in eminent domain. I don't like that. You can force some person to do, you know, I'm taking over your property, I'm doing this. I don't like that. So I would get rid of that. But that's just me. Other things that I would do is you need smaller government. So what happens is, okay, we all want renewable energy. We all want vehicles that drive off of solar panels. We all want vehicles that run off of steam. We all want less pollution. So the question is, why is it that we're not getting there? And some people go, oh, it's the big bad oil companies. They're trying to buy these people out anytime they have good technology. There's some truth to that, absolutely. But let's get into it more detailed. So an oil company is always going to do what's in the best interest of him. And the best way to protect themselves is to use government to buy out the bad guys or to regulate. You know, progressives, they like regulations. You regulate your competition out of the industry. So that means when somebody's trying to come up with some new solar panel, they make it so many more rules and regulations from the politicians that they own that it's nearly impossible to come up with a solar panel. This is really bad if you actually want really good solar panels or whatever it is to clean up the environment. Also, we have huge issues with government being in bed with green energy. Yeah! So what we have, and all these Greenpeace people, all the progressives, we all of a sudden we want, we need government to help the Greenpeace movement. We need them to help build solar panels. We need them to help build windmills. This is absurd. So this is what happens when you do that. Solar panel companies, they're out there, they're competing, they're spending money on who can create a solar panel that is so efficient that private companies want to buy it. Well, as soon as the government says, hey, we are going to buy 100 million solar panels, they now stop focusing on actually making something that's going to be successful and now focus on spending their money on bribing the next politician. Hey, dude, you should hire our company to install that 100,000 solar panels you were ... about, and you'll get ... This is the problem with big government. So what ends up happening is the government, they get in bed with whatever solar company it is or whatever windmill company it is, and they build 10,000 windmills. Yeah! Protecting the environment. Except these windmills are so bad that the private sector wouldn't buy them, which means if the private sector wouldn't buy them, it means they're not efficient enough to actually help. Weird how that works. And it's true. I built cell towers for a few years. We were working right next to these windmill guys. They were actually telling us how the amount of energy, supplies, that it takes to build a big windmill, by the time the windmill actually has produced that much energy, that much money worth of energy, it's actually destroyed itself. And so then they have to put in that much more energy again. So it's not self-sustaining. It's not even fixing the environment. In fact, they're wasting more energy keeping them built than the windmill is producing. But this is what happens when you have a government involved in an industry. Now those windmill companies are far more focused on keeping a politician happy than they are in making something that will actually help the private sector. Get the government out of these things. In my opinion, there is absolutely no way we'd still be driving vehicles on oil if we didn't have big government. I don't think it'd be possible. People would go, hey, I can run my vehicle off of solar panels. I can run my vehicle off of a windmill. I can run my vehicle off of a pedal bike. Like, this is stuff that would be going on. We would have way more money going into these things if these companies weren't spending so much money on buying politicians and controlling politicians. This is what crony capitalism is. This is what happens when you have a government-controlled and ran economy. This is not a free market. So my solution is, yes, I support all these pipelines as long as they go through the legal process and all that stuff. I actually want to add one more thing. For all of us who are worried about destroying property, we don't want a pipeline to leak. And those are all legitimate concerns. Nobody, even I, who worked in the oil field, I don't want the whole world to be wrecked or my area to be wrecked, my town to be destroyed, my farmland to be destroyed. So I don't want any of that. But the best way to cure that, in my opinion, is, again, weird how this works out, just have the government protect private property. You don't need more rules. You don't need more regulations. In fact, you need less. Hey, you can do whatever you want. You can put your pipeline in however you want. But the reality is that if you leak oil, it's dripping anywhere or it's destroying someone else's property, any person that it's destroying, they can come and sue you. It can be a class action lawsuit, it can be a single lawsuit, and you have to pay for all of their damages and the loss of crop or whatever it would be. Well, that would all of a sudden make companies go, maybe I want to be a little more careful. Instead, we have caps on things. Instead, we have, hey, well, the government regulated it, so we can blame the government. We follow the government regulations. Yeah, we kind of sneak around some of the corners, but the government okayed it, so that's all that matters. Bam. Now you have to go after the government. You're never going to win against the government. You can win against private companies. So my solution is to get the government out of everything except protecting private property. Protect private property, allow people to sue anyone, and actually be able to win. And that's one of our issues. Our legal system is so destroyed that unless you're rich, you don't have a chance against a rich person, which we really need to work on. We need people who are wealthy going to prison at the same rate as poor people for smoking weed. Now, I don't believe that people who smoke weed should ever go to prison, so that's my opinion. I think anybody should be able to do whatever they want to themselves. But my point is our system is set up for the poor and the middle class to get discriminated against them, and the rich get away with things. That's what we need to be promoting. Those are the things that will actually fix the problems. We want to be promoting green energy. We want to be promoting solar panels. We want to be promoting windmills. And the way you do that is not through government. It's getting the government out of things. So that way, these people, the way they make their money is by creating a product so good that the public sector says, I want to buy that because it will save me money. It is more quality than my other option. But as long as you have big government involved, those companies are going to spend way more time trying to buy a politician than they are pleasing the private sector. If you guys want more videos like this, please hit subscribe. Sorry, this is a little bit of a long one. If you guys like the widescreen over the whichever direction it is, let me know which you prefer. I'm just kind of trying it out 2 different ways. Give me your preferences. Send this video around for all the people who don't know what's going on with the Dakota Access pipeline. Send this around, open people's eyes. I love the comments, I love the thumbs ups, I love the thumbs downs. Tell me, if you're gonna give me a thumbs down, tell me why. Tell me what it is I'm missing. Tell me what I'm wrong. Give me factual evidence. The point of this channel is to have everybody work together and to actually debate and have healthy conversations. I don't want it to be all people that have my ideology. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Peace out.